there too, hanging around white folks. So that don't mean nothing just because he's black.
Okay.
What I understand, it was a black guy who called him over. The guy named Eddie was black. That's the guy who called him over and said, "Hey man, come sit with me." You know, he's the one. Like, it sounded like to me, Eddie set Carmelo up.
Well, I don't want to go that far. I don't know Eddie, but I do know that there was a young man named Eddie out on the stand, I believe, and said that he basically denounced even knowing Carmelo Anthony, saying I didn't know him. And then the defense attorney showed some photographs of them hanging out at least 2 or 3 times in the past. I think they hung out at least 3 times a week. So obviously they were familiar with each other. Why the young man would deny knowing him, I can imagine, because Carmelo's hot. Okay, but if we go back to this incident, if we go back to this right here, I see 3 young men. One of them is Austin Metcalf, and another one is this young man in the blue, clearly is not white. So we can't just say it's a bunch of white boys picking on Carmelo Anthony. What I said was Austin was walking with some other young men, apparently on his football team or from the school. So, you know, race always plays a part. But this begins to eliminate the idea that it was all racial. Maybe it was just kids bullying kids. Maybe we as the adults are throwing more into it. You know, this is because this is the game, and I've said this before. We love the race game here in America. We talk about baseball as a national pastime. The truth is, racism is our national pastime. It's intrinsic. It's part of the ethos of this country. Is founded in the Constitution, and we're not going to be able to get around it. But just like bad weather, we're going to have to learn to live with each other in a civilized society. Okay, whether we like each other or don't like each other, we still have to live in this country. We have to use the highways, we have to use the public facilities, and we have to come to some consensus on what direction we're going to go in this country. So, but that's my first take from this. If you want to fast forward to the next scene, you can see these young men walking.
His brother's about to come through now.
Yeah, his brother is dressed identical to him.
Hunter, this is the one who, from what I understand, instigated everything.
Okay. So that's Hunter. They're twins. They're dressed alike. That's another friend. I'm assuming they're walking together. I don't even know if they know each other. So now, if we look here, well, I don't see the actual tent, but we can see Carmelo Anthony. They have him highlighted. He's gonna walk. It looks like he looks right and then looks left. That's him walking with his backpack. He has a gray looking hoodie on, and he's walking from the left part of the screen to the right. He's not rushing. There's a bunch of, all of them seem to be walking at the same speed. He's now leaving the image. And this is and now if you look carefully, that's the Memorial High School tent. Okay, now it's hard to see, but if you zoom in really close, right there under the right M leg is where they're sitting. Now, I can't, if you can blow it up a little bit, that'd be better. If not, we'll kind of, people can see.
I don't know.
But there's going to be a push from left to right, and then there's going to be a response, and then you're going to see Carmelo Anthony sprint up the back of the tent and then run from the left to the right and break off up past the 40, 30, 20, and all the way up to the what it seems to be the parking lot. But you're going to see a little action. And this gentleman, if you look at the guy down in the front, see the one with the white? He's kind of bent over. When he leaves, that's when the action starts. When he leaves, when he picks his bag up, look up to the right about 1 o'clock, and you're going to see the pushing start. Now, again, this is what the jury saw, along with the evidence. They looked at this and they determined that reasonable, the amount of force used didn't give rise to a self-defense argument. And
how do they know how much? If they can't see no more better than what we can see, how the hell they know how?
Again, this is just one piece of evidence. And again, Willie, I'm just explaining to the people what they heard. They got the police report. They have the police officer's video footage from his vest. They have the 20 witnesses. They have the 4 witnesses from the defendant. And so this is how they're able to put together what happened. What I don't see on this video, Willie, is I don't see a big ruckus going on under that tent and 4 or 5 people standing on top of Carmelo Anthony, punching him in the face, stepping on him, stomping him out. I don't see that. I see force going this way and then force going that way. The force going this way was the push. The force going that way was the knife being put or being plunged into Austin Metcalf's chest. This is what the jury saw. And so the question is, did the jury have evidence to convict Carmelo Anthony of murder? And when we look at the evidence, first of all, we have to start off the fact with there was a knife. There's a young man who's dead. And in the great state of Texas, if you kill and a confession. So if you kill somebody in the great state of Texas, more likely than not, you're going to go to prison. Let's just start with that. If you kill somebody, if you kill more than one person, you're going to get the capital murder and you're going to get the death penalty more likely than not. You'd be lucky to get life. If you kill somebody in the act of robbing them, then you're going to get capital murder. If you hurt a child under 10, capital murder. If you hurt an elderly person, capital murder. Okay, so let's step down from that. If you murder somebody, you more likely than not, you're going to get life. If you just straight up murder somebody, you're getting life. If you murder somebody and you're in the hot, passionate, or you didn't mean to do it, it was negligence, guess what? You might get manslaughter. You get manslaughter, you get murder. Let me run a scenario by you that happens, and this is where the action starts. Now you see Carmelo running off to the right, okay, running down the steps. He's taking off. You see him sprinting, getting out of there, moving along. And at some point up here, he's gonna slow down. He's getting outside the gate. There's a guy pointing out. There's people chasing him now because I guess they think he's trying to run away. And at some point, he's going to encounter the police officer, and he's going to say what he did. Now, if you have the police officers, they're pointing. You see the people behind him pointing that he did it, etc. If you have the police officer's body cam footage, you can hear Carmelo Anthony give what would be considered excited utterances.
Cars are cool. Rental cars are not cool. It's cool when you can pick the exact car you want, exactly where you want, for exactly what you need. No one needs this. Turo. Rent a car, not a rental car.
It's the alleged suspect.
Okay. I am. No, I'm not. I know how it goes. I'm not alleged.
Okay. Watch your head. All right, see a little bit of blood on your hands there, okay? All right. So your first name is Carmelo?
A-R-M-E-L-O.
Okay, so you hear what he said. Well, this is what the jury heard. This is what the jury heard. The jury heard he put his hands on me. The jury heard a confession. So we have a dead body and we have a confession and we have a murder weapon. It's really difficult to get around that. Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a minute. We've all seen verse 48, right? What's the first thing your defense lawyer tells you to do?
The first thing your defense lawyer tells you to do is to shut the hell up.
There you go. Now let's say Carmelo, and look, I know people. What happened has already happened, okay? But if Carmelo Anthony has said, "I don't have anything to say. I want to talk to my lawyer," then we could argue some of these other arguments that people are throwing out there. Oh well, Austin Metcalf fell on the knife. I've heard that before. I've heard somebody say, "Oh, it was a defensive plunge." So in other words, you lunge at somebody, they have a knife out in front of them, and they lunge into you and fall on your knife. There's no intent in that. You see? Now maybe you pull the knife out, but you never actually poked him. But because he said what he said, he put his hands on me, I warned him not to. And here's the thing, man. This could have easily gone worse. I've seen some instances where, you get a motion for new trial and you end up worse off than you were with the original trial. So, that's the game that you play. Now, and I've had time to think about, again, I don't like the practice of criminal law. I don't like it. Don't want to do it, but I know the reason let me just tell all the reason Willie D brings me on this broadcast is because I don't have a dog in this hunt. if you bring a prosecutor on one of these shows to talk about a criminal case, they have to advance the position of the prosecutor. Because if a prosecutor who is an active prosecutor, whether federal or state, comes in and tries to be reasonable and objective and tell you what the defense attorney is thinking or what they should be doing, then guess what? The next time they go to court and they have a case with that very same set of issues or fact pattern, that particular defense attorney is going to say, well, hey, you on Willie D's show or one of these other major shows, whether it be cable, and say, well, you said this here, sir. Are you now making the opposite argument? You see, and then that makes that they have to fight with what they've said in the past. If you get a defense attorney who comes on here and say, yeah, the prosecutor was right, this guy was dead wrong, he's going to lose all his clients because the people are going to say, well, look, man. And matter of fact, the prosecutor who appears with this defense attorney will say, well, you on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, and you said this on Fox News, and this is the very same fact pattern, Mr. Jones. And so now what's different? So you lose credibility. So a prosecutor is going to prosecute, and a defense attorney is going to defend. When you have somebody like me on here, I don't care one way or the other. I don't like it, so I can give it to you straight. I can give you the facts straight. And basically, you have a dead body, you got a confession, you have a murder weapon, and you have dozens of witnesses who saw it happen. On top of that, you have some video footage, you have confessions. It's all bad. This young man was going to prison. The only people that think Carmelo wasn't going to prison are regular lay folks. The judge knew it, the DAs knew it, lawyers all across America knew it. Anybody who's, hell, you can go to the penitentiary, and most of them will say, yeah, we knew he was going to go to prison. It was too much.
Who didn't know he was going to prison? Not based on the evidence, based on the fact that he being tried in Collin, racist ass 53% white county. And this is a black boy accused of killing a white boy. This is why everybody knew he was going to get railroaded. And he got not an all-white jury, but a jury that's comprised of not one black person in a racially charged case. Come on, man. The prosecutor, the judge supposed to be, the judge got to say, no, man, we ain't going to let that happen. The prosecutor got to be like, man, let me just get 1 or 2 in here. So when I get my conviction, they won't be able to come back on appeal with it. Come on, man. You can't go in there. You can't do a racially charged case like this, man, and not have one black person being accused. It's not. They've shown us time and time again they cannot be non-biased in these type of situations.
Willie, let's do this. Let's flip the script. Let's say this trial happened in Harris County. Then you got an all-black jury in Harris County, and we're gonna remove the race of the defendant, and matter of fact, we're gonna make them both black. Do you think an all-black jury would have convicted a black defendant who killed another black boy because he pushed him, stabbed him in the chest?
No.
Here in Texas?
First of all, okay, say it again. You said an all-black.
If we got a black judge. This is a hypothetical because the internet they want hype. What if this? What if? Okay, fine. My position is that an all-black jury with a black judge, black prosecutor, black defense attorney, a black defendant, black victim, they would have still found this young man guilty of murder because he killed somebody. A black boy killed another black boy. You don't think it stabbed him in the chest for pushing him? You don't think that an all-black jury would find murder? I
say maybe not. He got a better chance with an all-black jury. He got a much better chance of getting a fair trial with an all-black jury.
My experience.
So answer that, Dennis. Would he have had a better chance if he had an all-black jury as opposed to the one he had?
He would still have been convicted of murder, in my opinion, based on these facts. However, I'll say this. However, the only issue was whether it was going to be murder, manslaughter, or murder where you go to jail for 35 years, or I think it was 0 to 99. An all-black jury may have said, well, he was defending himself. They may have given him the benefit of the doubt, but he was still going to go to prison. You see, that's where the racism comes in. See, he was going to get locked up. that day. He was going to prison that day. The question was whether it was going to be manslaughter or murder. And you and I had this conversation. I said, I'd be surprised if he got anything less than murder. Now, again, it could have been manslaughter, but this particular jury found a way. They found a path, and it's a legitimate path to determine murder. They did not believe that this young man, the amount of force that he used in response to that attack was reasonable to justify murder. It didn't rise to the level of deadly force. Now, again, let's go back to this. We got to talk about these internet. They say he was jumped. I didn't see that on the video. I didn't see him getting packed out on the video. The jury didn't see it. And so that's why they didn't.
Very difficult to see anything on that video. I heard that there's a clear video out there.
But they also didn't hear it. I heard that too, but where is it? I heard that too. Somebody, we didn't. It wasn't.
And this is why I say he was railroaded. Answer this question for me, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
As someone who have practiced criminal law, as someone who knows the law, just as a reasonable person,
yeah.
How plausible do you believe it is that you had all those kids out there and not one recorded it when you know kids love recording drama? The moment they think something might happen, they start recording. They said that Carmelo was sitting under that tent for about 3 minutes before the altercation occurred. That means youngsters got plenty of time to pull those phones out and start recording. And we ain't got one recording? Come on, man. That's why we knew he was going to get railroaded. We ain't got one recording, bro. Not one. Ain't nobody answering that question. Nobody wants to know why. Where are those damn videos? I submit to you that somebody got paid off and intimidated.
Well, what would the video recording of the killing change?
The video recording would show exactly what happened. Because right now we're leaning on the understanding or the testimony of Austin Metcalf's tribe, his friends, his schoolmates. We're leaning on and the testimony of people who was intimidated by the prosecution and investigators. Yeah, you think that's not going on in Collin County where people are being intimidated and threatened to not give full testimony?
Well, here's the thing, Willie D. There were other people who weren't even from Collin County out there. It was a track meet. You had grown-ups. You think these people are going to lie and put their life? I mean, you can't. Yes. If you lie on the well.
There's a million precedents for it. Yes, they will lie.
Okay.
They will lie and put their reputation on the line. Yes.
Okay.
We've seen it happen many times.
There were 20 prosecution witnesses. There were 4 defense witnesses. And let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Carmelo Anthony. Number one, he didn't take the stand. So the only thing we have to go on is the body cam footage and what was recorded in the police report from the body cam footage. He said he touched me first. He never said they jumped me. They touched me first. So out of Carmelo Anthony's own mouth, he never said he was jumped. The only people to start saying he was jumped was the internet. Carmelo Anthony never said that. So my question is, if this is what the jury heard, if this is what is presented, you have a path to conviction. So I can't focus on what the jury didn't see, and I'm not going to speculate as to what's out there. If it's not before the jury, it doesn't count. It's just like this. It doesn't matter what happens. It's only what happens. The only thing that the jury can relate to is what's presented in court. That's the evidence. Evidence has to be presented in a certain form. Otherwise, you could just start making up stuff. Somebody could come along and say, well, he did this to me, he did that. We've seen that happen in a lot of other issues related to SA. Somebody comes out the blue from 30 years ago and said, you did this. There's no evidence, but because they said you did this, and now we're talking about a civil matter, preponderance of evidence, which is a very low standard to meet. you lose your fortune. You get sued. And so we have to have a gatekeeper sort of situation when it comes to evidence. We can't just rely on speculatory evidence. If it exists, it needs to come forward. If there's evidence out there that can exonerate Carmelo Anthony, we can't just talk about it. Where is it? We'd like to see it. Why didn't the prosecutors give it or bring it forth? Where's TMZ? Right? We have all these people. Now we can talk about what kid could have, should have done, why they didn't whip their video out. I don't know. That's not before the jury. The only thing I want to focus on is what was brought before the jury. And if we stay focused on what the jury had, we can come to the conclusion they had enough evidence to find this young man guilty of murder beyond a reasonable doubt. That's where we are.
Okay, now I will agree to you if we stay focused on what the jury was presented. But Dennis, you acting like these people don't suppress evidence and that you acting like they don't omit evidence. Like everything that we saw and everything we heard was the only truth that was out there. Like these people, time and time again have lied, suppressed evidence, intimidated witnesses, how much prosecutorial misconduct is out there on a daily basis where these people act like they have complete autonomy over the legal system. They just do whatever the hell they want to do. Let's go back to what you said moments ago when you talked about Carmelo Anthony confessing that he put his hands on me. That could be a fraud. That could be a fraudulent slip. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, think about it. He's under a lot of pressure. He's under intense pressure right now. He's experiencing anxiety. He just stabbed somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times have you misspoken? You know, in the heat of the moment, in that exact moment. How many times have you misspoken? So that don't mean that just he. I mean, two things can be true. He could have put his hands on him, but other people may have put their hands on him too. But he mentioned him because he stabbed him, not them.
All right, Willie. You. I hear you, Willie.
Man, I'm just, my thing is this, Dennis. Look, man, Dennis. I'm just saying, man. I just know how these people are, man. I know these people play dirty, and when we speak like we talking about the rules, like the rules don't get broken, like they don't move the goalposts, like they don't suppress evidence, like they don't lie, like they don't intimidate witnesses. You act like that stuff is off the table. It's not.
I'm not.
Times.
I'm not, Willie. I'm not. And they have something called a Brady disclosure where the prosecutors are obligated to give exonerating evidence that would exonerate a defendant. They're obligated to do it. If they don't do it, it's grounds for a new trial. Okay, but
do they overdo that and they never get punished, and people never get.
They do get punished, Willie. They get punished. But what I'm saying is, man, they have an obligation to do that. But in this particular situation, you're telling me that Carmelo Anthony's statement that he put his hands on me, we shouldn't believe it.
No, I didn't say we shouldn't do it. I said two things can be true. He could have said he put his hands on me, and yes, indeed, he did put his hands on him. Mm-hmm. But also, he could have admitted other things that happened in that moment, in the heat of the moment, while he's being arrested. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he also said that. I mean, he said that I'm not. He said this is the alleged perpetrator. He said no, it's not alleged. I did it. Are we not supposed to believe that either?
Yeah, we believe that. Yeah.
Okay, so hold on now, Willie D. Hold on, Willie D. Willie D. Hold on. So we can accept the fact that when he admitted that he did it, that's true. But we can't accept the fact that when he said he put his hands on me, that limits it to one person and not multiple people. Is that what you telling us, Willie D?
Yeah, I'm saying that two things can be true. That the fact that he did admit that dude put his hands on him, and suggesting that is the reason why he stuck him. But at the same time, he could have omitted that the fact that everything else that was happening around him and other people attacked him. Because the fact that he stuck him is the most important, is the reason why he's arrested. Not because of he was defending himself against fighting off other people or whatever.
You have a valid point. Basically, what you're saying, Willie, is that, hey, he might have just omitted to tell you that he was so hyper-focused on the individual in front of him didn't bring up the fact that there were other people around him creating an environment of fear because he felt like there was an imminent attack from multiple people. I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But the jury, not only did they see the video, and it didn't look like it was a bunch of people standing over and packing them out, okay? In addition to that, they heard multiple witnesses, and none of them testified. It was a bunch of people standing around him packing them out. I know you said the jury, they feared for their life, and they don't want, I get what you're saying, Willie. But if you take all that evidence together, okay, if you take it all together, and you...
Cars are cool. Rental cars are not cool. It's cool when you can pick the exact car you want, exactly where you want, for exactly what you need. No one needs this. Turo. Rent a car, not a rental car.
Most lawyers, most people who've been involved in the criminal justice system figured out well ahead of time that this young man was going to prison. The only question was whether or not he was going to go to prison for murder or manslaughter. Now, let me give you some, we'll just say, I guess, for the people, legal game. Let's listen. I want you to hear this strategy for me. All right? So the reason we don't know what happened is because we haven't heard Carmelo Anthony speak. He didn't come up on the stand and testify. We shouldn't hold that against him. Defendants who are accused don't have to testify. But Carmelo Anthony was 17 when this incident happened. He's 19 now. Willie D, a fully grown, mature man, is going to be able to testify different than a young 17 or 19-year-old boy on the stand. Same thing with Dennis Sperling and any other mature adult. We're going to say it, we're not going to feel overly stressed out. It is what it is, okay? This 19-year-old boy, had he testified now, his testimony would be locked in to the public record forever. So let's say he gets an appeal, and I think he will be granted an appeal because appeals are mandatory in the state of Texas. The state of Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is an intermediate court, so it's mandatory. So he's going to be granted an appeal. They're going to look at everything, and I think there's a more than 50% chance that this particular verdict is going to be overturned because they excluded all of the black jurors. Now, we can go into that another time, but if people want to look up Batson, I think that's a good reason. So now, as I said earlier, and I want you to understand the mindset of a criminal defense attorney, we understand that this young man was going to prison. Any lawyer worth his salt is going to say, you got a confession, a dead body, and a murder with dozens of witnesses. He's going to go to prison. The question, if he had been able to go to prison with manslaughter, that would have been a win. And I know that's hard for the public to understand. People think this is going to be a Perry Mason moment. Defendant, you're free to go. That was not going to happen in this case. I don't think it would have happened in this case if it was an all-black jury, a black judge, black prosecutor, black victim, and a black defendant. You're going to go to prison. The question is, are you going to go to prison for 7 years, 7 to 10 years, or are you going to go to prison from 5 to 99 years? He got the 5 to 99 years, of which they gave him 35 years. So now let's look at the strategy here. If we know he's going to go to prison, if we know there's more likely than not he's going to get a retrial, then why not preserve the idea of have him testifying until he gets a little bit older, until he can sit in that cage? And I know it's bad. It's going to be bad. It's not going to be all good, but it's not going to be all bad. He's going to mature. He's going to grow. Hopefully he programs correctly. His mind will mature. 7 years from now, when it's time for a new trial, okay, he doesn't have that 19-year-old testimony saying, well, you said this then, you said this then. What's changed? You've had a chance to sit in that penitentiary with them hardened criminals and work out your life. That's what the prosecutor's going to say. We knew he was going to do at least 7 to 10 years. We knew that. Anybody in the criminal justice system knew, based on the evidence, not even having anything to do with the case, knew he was going to prison. But now, because he didn't testify, he preserved that testimony. Now you can say, well, we go ahead and go forth with this again. Maybe now I'll testify and explain why this was self-defense and not murder, why I was afraid for my life, why I felt the need. There was other people all around. Maybe then it'll be better. That's the best shot he had. We knew he was going to prison. And I think that's very difficult for the public to understand. You know, that's the strategy I'm gonna use, man, and that's a win. The goal was to get him manslaughter. If he and the reason that's the goal because that's only 7 years. You got a young man dead, and you only go. That you can get out and still live your life. You'll still be in his 20s. You got a young. I mean, bro, people go to prison forever for that. If they can get manslaughter for this, that's a win. But sometimes you got to go a roundabout way to get it. He does 7 years, time served, manslaughter, he can get out, or probation, or whatever they come up with. And that's the best case scenario. But the defense attorney already knew what was going to happen. I'm sure if his...
Of course he knew what it was going. Of course he knew it was going to happen. He did a wink, shake, man. I got you, baby. We're going to make this happen. He did one of them. It was one of them. Like, what's that little sign that they do? Yeah, man. Look here. So wait, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think the strongest part of the prosecution's case was, and what was the most vulnerable part?
They got a dead body, Willie D. They got a dead body, a confession, and a murder weapon, and dozens of witnesses. That's the strongest case. This is not a case built on circumstantial evidence where we can't find the body. We don't know. We don't have a confession from the defendant. He lawyered up before we even put him in handcuffs. He was talking about, I want to talk to my lawyer. There's no witnesses. There's no body. There's no physical evidence. This is not that case. This is a cakewalk for the prosecution. The only question was whether or not he was going to get a manslaughter, a murder conviction. That's it. That's the only question. He was going to go to prison. And see, here's the thing. When I hear that little boy crying, he touched me I hear a baby. I'm compassionate to Carmelo Anthony. I have sons that age, man. And he's a child. But see, on the flip side, Austin Metcalf is a child. These are children that we taught. These are kids whose minds haven't even fully developed, and we have a dead child. We cannot have a society where we allow children to kill each other because of a push. So somebody's, especially here, Willie D, you know where we are. What we talking about, Texas, we put more people to death for capital murder than anywhere else in the world, right here in the great state of Texas. This is what we do here. So you absolutely know that if you do something like that, you're going to prison. And if it's a white boy in a white county and you black, you don't stand Ice Cube's chance in hell of getting out, walking out of there free and clear. It's not going to happen. We know that. And hopefully we begin to tell our children, especially our black boys, you got to control your emotions. You can't do, it ain't like when we was young and you could box with somebody and handle in the street and then shake hands afterwards and be friends. These kids are not like us. They're different. They're emotional. They walking around strapped. And this could have went one way or the other. He could have pulled a knife and somebody else could have pulled a pistol if it was out in these streets. So we have to teach our children to control their emotion, because guess what happened when they get in front of the judge? We see what happens. And that's what you see Carmelo. He was a good kid though. And I feel sorry for him.
Now, you're absolutely right. We do need to control our emotions, but that goes both ways. And I don't want that to fall deaf on the ears of those people who are out there in support of Austin, because they believe that Austin didn't do anything wrong. There's people out there that all they talk about is Carmelo, but they ain't got no heat at all for what Austin did, putting himself in that position. You know, so it goes both ways, being in control of your emotions. Like,
absolutely.
If Austin had controlled his emotions, we wouldn't be here. If and he's starting it, we wouldn't have been here. But if Carmelo would have been able to control his emotions, we wouldn't be in this situation.
And let's back it up a little bit. I got one for you. I got a better one for you. Had Austin Metcalf pushed Carmelo Anthony, and then he said, okay, and reported him to the police, Austin Metcalf would be in handcuffs, because that's assault.
Not.
It's bad. No, sir. No. If Austin Metcalf pushed Carmelo Anthony and Carmelo Anthony didn't respond, that's battery. You going to prison.
That is, but that's
how you get rid of that problem. That teaches a bully that way you don't have to get your hands dirty. You don't have to respond. And he goes, see, that's what, look, man.
Not in Collin County. He wouldn't have went to prison.
Hey, and see, that's when your politicians come into play. That's when your legislators, that's when you push the issue. He pushed me. I want him to go to prison. You got to go full Karen on these people. Use that system against them. That way you don't have to get your hands dirty. All he had to do was call the cops on them. And should have been a research. 20 of them same people that testified against Carmelo Anthony, you would have forced them to testify against Austin Metcalf. And it's my understanding, I don't want to speak fairly of the dead, okay, but the young man apparently, I don't want to speak poorly of people, but it's my understanding that the young man had some incidents in school before. I'm talking about the Austin Metcalf, the brothers. Apparently they were known on the campus for
bullies, man. They was bullies. Go on, say it, man. They was bullies. They were bullies.
And look, I have no way of verifying that, but that's my understanding. But all that would have come out. Okay, but bottom line is, nobody. He's not the police. You got a child acting as an enforcer, putting people out the tent. That should have never happened. And the truth is, none of this would have happened had Austin Metcalf not initiated the conflict. We can all agree on that. Whether you like Austin Metcalf and all the white people and all the black people, I know you all want to make this a racial issue. I get that. But these are two children, okay? One of them had a battery in his back thinking it was his job to play security, and another one over-responded and killed him. And now he's dead, and the other young man is dead. He's going to jail for 35 years. So it's a lot of emotions involved. It's a lot of young men who didn't have emotional control and who overstepped their bounds, and other young men who responded disproportionately. We can get that. So what do we do from here? You see what I mean? Where we go from here?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. Where do we go from here? Like I will submit to you that the reason why we're here is because you have white guys like Austin Metcalf who think that their whiteness self-deputizes them. They think that they have control over black bodies and they can make black people do this and that. Move, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Let me see your key. I've never seen you around here. Get away from here. Get from under here. Move around and all this type of stuff. And that is a big problem all around this country, and that needs to be addressed too. See, you can't address one without addressing the other. If Austin has respect for Carmelo and his right to exist and not try to become the damn tent enforcer, we're not here. And it's a lot of dudes that do that. A lot of these dudes behave that way because they believe the system is going to protect them. And they also believe that black people will not fight back. That is the reason why he did it in the first place. You don't see black people doing that. You never hear about black people walking up to white people saying you don't belong here.
I hear black people walking up to black people saying you don't belong here.
You're right about that. And that's bad.
Willie, I'm not. Bullying has been around since.
You're absolutely right about
time. Bullying has been around. This is not something that's germane to one race or other. It's part of human nature. We got kids who are bullies. Oftentimes, kids who are bullied themselves. But the way you fix a bully is you punch them right in the nose and then they learn their lesson. Now, we can't do that like we used to do it back in the day, so go ahead and call the police and put some people on them. But the bottom line is there's plenty of racial issues we can talk about, but this issue, I think the adults have injected race into this. I think the adults who play the racist game, these are two young men. I mean, both of them played football. They played for opposite teams. Carmelo Anthony wasn't just under the tent being quiet. He was under there talking stuff, so he wasn't scared. Look, let me tell you, we always talk about Carmelo was scared. Carmelo was under there saying, touch me again. That don't sound like scary to me. That sounds like I wish you would to me.
He don't have to be a coward to defend himself.
Yeah, but it don't mean he was afraid. So you can't say I was afraid for my life if you weren't afraid. That's the thing. And that's why the whole self-defense. If you're afraid for your life to the point that you have to use deadly force to protect your life, that's one thing. But Carmelo Anthony, and that's just one little piece of evidence. I'm sitting in here, I'm under this tent, I'm talking stuff. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Your team is ass. That's what he said about Austin Metcalf's football team, and he played for another team. And then he said, touch me again. That don't sound like fear to me. I know what fear sounds like, and that doesn't sound like fear. And so, this is what the jury heard. And so we always have to go back to, was this verdict valid? Did they have evidence to substantiate the elements necessary to prove murder? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, and it's going to remain yes. Now, we can pick apart what they saw, what weight they gave each piece of evidence. But the question is, when the appellate court looks at this, they're going to say, well, we think that the verdict is valid. Now, had you had 2 or 3 black jurors on there, you might have got a holdout. They may have come to a determination. Look, we don't believe murder, but we will agree with manslaughter. So we can come to that consensus and get a unanimous agreement. We'll do manslaughter. That's the point of having a black juror in there, because it only takes one to hold out to get a hung jury. And so had you had 3 black people on the jury, and remember, this wasn't an all-white jury. I think it wasn't an all-white jury. It was other people, but my understanding was no black people. But that's why they wanted to get rid of the black jurors, because they might have held out for manslaughter. There was no way this young man was going to be exonerated and go home that day. He was going to go to prison. The question was manslaughter or murder. A black juror may have made them hold out, and you're going to sit in this room. We're not going to be here for 4 hours. We're going to be here for 4, 5, 10, 15 days. And when you have somebody who kicks back on their heels, plants their feet in the sand, say, no, I don't believe it's murder. I believe it's self-defense. We can do manslaughter. But that was the reason why they wanted to get rid of those black jurors. And that's why I think it'll be overturned. But that's the only reason. I think the verdict was valid. However, the jury played a part in it. And as they always say, the outcome of a case after voir dire, after the jury is impaneled. And in this particular case, same thing with O.J. Simpson. We knew what was going to happen once we saw the jury. It was over. It was acquittal. So, and that's the magnificence of the practice of law. The case is typically won when the jury is impaneled, and that's the things people don't know. So you want more black people to get out of jail? Y'all sit for jury duty. That's what you do. Stop trying to pretend like your mama's sick and you got to go to work. And you got a medical condition that won't let you sit for jury. Stop ignoring. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the jury put more weight on video evidence or eyewitness testimony?
I don't know, man, and I don't think that they questioned the jury after the jury polled. It's called poll. I don't think they polled the